So yesterday, I went to buy a phone from my mom, and as I was at the store, I overheard a certain salesperson emphasizing on the number of megapixels that the phone has, that the phone he was showing to the customer has. He was sort of insisting, making it seem like a higher megapixel count means a better camera. Now the fun part is when the customer, an old man by the way, asked the guy what megapixels meant, and I started thinking, what if I make a video explaining what the word means? Because being honest, quite a lot of people have been asking themselves what that question, what megapixels means. Which brings us to this video. In this video, we are going to talk about megapixels, what it means, how it works, and its importance in your smartphone camera. So without wasting any moments, let's get to the video. What's up guys, how are you doing? Hope you're having a nice day. I'm Milan and welcome back to Physitech. And by the way, I've left timestamps, so if you'd like to skip to a particular part in the video, the pleasure is yours. So megapixels are basically the number of pixels in an image if you count them. So obviously you'll ask yourself what pixels are. A pixel is a tiny square of color that is part of a digital image. So a digital image has lots and lots of these tiny dots that make it up. And they are so small that they are in the millions in just one image. The word pixel also comes from the two words picture and element. This is because they are elements of the picture. So back to megapixel. 1 megapixel is equals to 1 million pixels. So 5 megapixels is equals to 5 million pixels. Or 0.1 megapixels is equals to 100,000 pixels. Now suppose you own the iPhone 13. Since its main camera is a 12 megapixel one, you can take an image with 12 million tiny squares of information per inch. Pixels are created when light passes through the lens and is captured by the image sensor in the camera. The image sensor has millions of things in it that capture light and are called photosites. So these photosites are arranged in order with rows and columns and stay at specific places so that they capture the light and transfer the information to the camera memory, which translates it into a picture. You could just Google an image and then Google its pixelated version so you see examples of how pixels look like. You may ask yourself if more megapixels means having a better camera. Well, no, it doesn't. Okay, not that it doesn't, but it may or may not. It depends on other factors. The number of megapixels in our smartphone cameras increase all the time, especially in budget phones, but the size of the image sensor usually remain about the same. Increasing the number of megapixels will make the image quality better, but up to a certain extent, then it will stop. So addition of more pixels won't help with anything. But if the camera sensor is made larger with more pixels, then the image quality will be better. And also, instead of adding more and more pixels to one space, you could just make the pixels bigger and bigger, and this would result to a better quality photo without increasing the number of megapixels. Mikhail Bogal, a previous software engineer for Apple, who had also worked with their cameras, and said that the way pixels collect light is the same way as how buckets collect rainwater. The bigger the bucket, the more the rainwater it collects. So the bigger the pixels, the more the light it can collect. Larger pixels make it easier for light to find its way to the photosensitive part of the camera sensor. Now, a 12 megapixel sensor with a larger pixel sizes and larger sensor would produce a much better quality than a 12 megapixel sensor with smaller pixels and smaller sensors. And this explains why the iPhone with its 12 megapixel cameras would absolutely destroy a budget Android phone with a 48 megapixel camera. Most of the time you'll find that flagship phones have bigger sensors than budget ones, so they don't need a high number of megapixels to be that good. And also that's why you'll find that a 108 megapixel smartphone camera is not even half as good as a 16 megapixel DSLR camera. This is because the camera may have a sensor that's even 5 times larger than the smartphone. Now aside from pixel size and sensor size, we have more things that determine the goodness of your camera. The aperture, the type of lens, and the optical zoom. To know more about the lenses, there's already a video on that and I link it down below. Aperture is the size of the opening or hole through where light goes through and enters the camera. You must have seen when companies are advertising their phones, they say the camera's megapixel count and also the aperture, something like f1.8 or f2.2. Well, that's how they are measured. that number at the end is the ratio of the focal length divided by the opening size. So the lower the number means a larger aperture, hence more light is let in, and a higher number means a smaller aperture, hence less light gets in. It's sort of an inverse relationship. Since you already established that more light means better photos, then a smaller number in the aperture will mean better photos. Now from the above, from what I've said before, you can clearly see that more megapixels don't actually mean better quality, but instead larger pixels, sensors and larger aperture may mean better quality photos and videos. So next time when getting yourself a phone, don't be blinded by the megapixel count only. Do the research. Anyways, that's all for today. I'm Milan and this is Fuzitech. Thanks for watching, and if you liked the video, don't forget to leave a sub. I really appreciate it. Thanks again, and I hope you have a clear day. Bye.